Okay, so maybe that's another question where in the abstract you can answer one way, but in the particulars of life, there's just so much you need to think about and so much you need to consider. So first, I would say be very, very careful. You don't want to destroy a church, right? You don't want to. Let's distinguish between a false church versus an unhealthy church. So that church you're describing there, you come to deeper theological convictions. You've come to see that that church does not share your convictions, and in fact, probably in some ways, you see that church is opposed to your convictions. I think you still need to ask: is that a false church? Are they teaching a false gospel? Or would I say, that's probably an unhealthy church. I think they're still preaching the gospel, but they have some unhealthy parts of the church. There's some theology they're teaching that's wrong. Even while they still teach the gospel, they're emphasizing these things, or they're endorsing this kind of theology or this kind of teacher. So let's distinguish between those two things. If it's a false church and they are preaching a false gospel and they're leading people to hell, then absolutely you need to get out of that church right away. And you need to talk to other people you love in that church and tell them to leave too, right? I don't think it's that kind of church based on what you're saying. So probably it's on what you might consider an unhealthy church, right? Your convictions have changed. So I would say, first, be very, very careful. It's not your job to destroy that church. In fact, if you decide to leave the church, I think you need to leave really carefully. Simply withdraw from the church quietly and go to another church, but do all you can to leave respectfully, to leave kindly, not to burn bridges, not to feel that you need to drag other people out with you. Just step out of it, show humility, and show proper respect for people who, even if you believe they're theologically misguided, are still sharing the gospel, still drawing people to Christ, we hope, even if their theology isn't exactly what you believe in. So, Reformed people, I think, can have a bit of a burn it down mentality when it comes to churches like that. They talk about the cage stage of Calvinism and stuff, right? Where for a while you're just so excited about this theology, you just want to share it with everyone you know, and you just can't believe other people aren't seeing it. Just be very, very careful. Be very, very humble. Probably the best thing you can do is leave quietly and understand that if you don't have the pulpit in a church, you're very unlikely to change the church, right? So if you're the pastor of a charismatic church, you can probably lead that church. There may be a way you can lead that church into sound doctrine. If you don't have the pulpit, you're not an elder in the church, you're not a pastor in the church, it's very unlikely you'll be able to change it. So instead, that's your conviction, your conscience, you prayed about it, just quietly withdraw from the church and go to another church that's closer to your theological convictions and find ways to serve God and serve His people.